a group of Filipino fiction writers. He also belongs to the Manunuri ng Pelikulang Pilipino and the Congress of Teachers and Educators for Nationalism and Democracy are content. Let us all welcome Dean Rolando Tolentino.
Magandang hapon sa ating lahat. Revolution making is a tricky business. It has to create its own culture, or hand in hand, let me just repeat that. It has to create its own culture, or hand in hand with it is an ongoing cultural revolution to offer to its participants, to the larger citizenry, a parallel culture to the state. It really goes also to the idea of the paradigm of the NEF, which is a parallel state in relation to the Philippine state. Therefore, if it is a parallel state, then necessarily a parallel culture is integral to this paradigm. Revolution, after all, represents the necessary aspiration and mode of transformation to be able to truly imagine that there is another world that is possible. Integral to revolution making, therefore, is the mobilization of art and culture through the politicization of these forms to popularize its cause. The national democratic movement has not been remiss in offering parallel and alternative cultural forms. Mimeograph publications beginning in the 1960s, blossoming into the protest, mural and visual arts, songs, literature, and theater since the 1970s, to more recent and consistent use of integrative effigies, graffiti, online publications, and video productions. These art forms are linked to the social context of reception and use, which means giant effigies are burned at the anti-State of the Nation address, protest slogans and art on the streets are covered with new paint, and live performances are rarely documented. With the exception of criticism in scholarly books and Archivong Bayan, an online portal of recent political activities managed by Mon Ramirez, there are no archives of the various protest art and cultural forms. Books remain vital in the documentation of a more lasting political art. One major stream in the production of books in revolution making is the narration of the lives of the leaders and revolutionaries. June Cruz Reyes Armando in 2006 retold the life of revolutionary leader Armando Teng. Ina Aleco Silverius Cabell is on the biography of labor leader Cristina Alvarez, been published in 2010. Judy Tagualo's edited Reka from Diliman to the Cordilleras, just launched last Wednesday night, is a collection of stories, poetry, testaments, and statements on the life and death of martyr Reka Noel Monte. In addition to this growing literature is Silverio's Louis Jalandoni, Revolutionary. Biographies and autobiographies, and also film and television biographies in the Philippines are part of a political cottage industry. I remember hearing a remark of an American historian saying, compared to other kinds of books in the country, there are so much, or just too many biography books published here. Aspiring politicians use comics during elections to recast heroism in their story and interest in running for public offices for the voting public, composed mainly of the poor and the disadvantaged. Established politicians use biography to recast their vantage position in the retelling of national history. Prominent business people and socialite philanthropists use biographies to extol their senior prominence in these fields. Biographies in revolution making offer parallel contrast to biographies of the state personalities. Revolutionary biographies primarily engage in the necessity of revolution. Louis Jalandoni, Revolutionary, is as much as on the life of the National Democratic Front leader as it is of the Philippine Revolution. The newness of the project, however, is in the use of popular form, harnessed from the comics and the graphic novel. But unlike the graphic novel that visualizes the dark heroism and chosen quest of its character, the book interjects this form with a much larger and real scope covered by the written and the graphic, the personal and the political, the individual and revolutionary history. Silverio's writing elucidates not the heroism of a revolutionary leader, but the saga of a person that transcends class privileges and political limitations to enrich the national democratic struggle. Silverio's section introduction encapsulates the progression in Jalandoni's life and the episode's cycles. the defining mood of the time. Silverio undertakes a difficult writing precisely as she has forewarned in the introduction. The biographical subject was self-effacing and self-depreciating, almost to a fault. Added to this is the expanse of Jalandoni and the revolution's life, defined by its founding, shaping primary modality of struggle during the martial rule, mistakes during the Corizon Aquino's term, the rectification movement and its consequences. It is a writing of epic tale and proportion. However, Silverio manages to create a structured spine of writing that covers the scope of individual and movement histories. Her writing also provided the impetus for the visualization of the 6 participating illustrators. What stood out were the visual works that harnessed the comic and graphic forms for a political undertaking. The illustrators of the chapters bring forth a newness to the familiar convention, even as the visual were sometimes outplayed by the density of the text. These chapters have the robustness of the struggle and life despite the overwhelming events in the sub-stories and in the bleakness of the images, which are combined from the graphic novel form and the social realism. The book is both popular and political art. As political art, it discusses mass disenfranchisement and seeks social transformation as evidenced in the life and body of Jalandoni. As popular art, it seeks to appeal to a larger audience. In this case, the intellectuals and middle class, and those sympathetic or can still be convinced of the cause of revolution making. As the book also combines written and visual art forms, the inter-art result provides a newer literacy to a younger public generation of readers. What would be good direction though for this project is to translate the book into various Philippine languages, helping ensure that with access to language comes access to the stories of Jalandoni and the revolution. Jalandoni's inspiring life account creates a prism that draws the public to what Jonas Stahl in his preface has stated for the artists and their art, which can also be said for citizens and their claims. And this is to quote him, to challenge the status quo and dedicate ourselves to the histories of the world still in the making. To tell the stories of those who struggle outside the eyes of mass media, to tell, listen, and learn of the many possible worlds that the Filipino revolutionaries and their many comrades across the world are fighting for, end quote. But the book inspires because the subject of biography, Jalandoni, is also the subject of history, the Philippine Revolution. Jalandoni and many others like him also become the subject of the Philippine Revolution, surpassing their limitations to live life in revolution making. It is a subject of formation ever in progress and serves to inspire newer generations of activists and revolutionaries. Karl Marx said that art is always and everywhere a secret confession, and at the same time the immortal movement of its time. End quote. As Jalandoni and the revolution are public secrets, the book is also a confessional art, a confession to the process of individual being and revolutionary modernity. In the arts and culture sphere, being a revolutionary and the idea and practice of revolution are sustained as parallel progressive cultural formations to the Philippine state. This book on Jalandoni is also a book on the Philippine Revolution, claiming and reclaiming the righteousness and justness of revolution making. In our time and term in history, as Jalandoni and the Collaborative Book Project suggests, revolution is our shared immortal legacy. Let's continue to make it happen. Mabuhay ang mga artista, pangkulturang manggagawa at kilusan, mabuhay ka Louie, mabuhay ang ika-42 anibersaryo ng NDF, mabuhay ang revolusyon.
Thank you, Dean Rolando Tolentino. Before we move on to the next part of the program,